Hey, and welcome back to this episode of the FullyBookPhotographer.com podcast. And you know what? We're going to talk about something that could be a little bit controversial today. We're going to talk about the role print competition has in creating a successful business. So, Brad, I know you want to lead this one off. Tell us what you think.
I love print competition. No, sorry, British sarcasm. I suppose before I put forward my opinion, I suppose I have to explain a little bit about why my opinion's like that. So I'm not a photographer, as hopefully everybody who's listened to this knows previously, but I'm not a photographer. I consider myself an entrepreneur in the photographic industry. I'm third generation, so my father and my current partner are photographers in our business. I've watched my dad run a successful business for about 35 years. I've been involved in that business for about 8 of them now, 9. And throughout that time, he has very, very rarely entered print competitions. I remember when I was a child, I was about 12 years old, my dad became the Yorkshire Portrait Photographer of the Year. And he became the Children's Portrait Photographer of the Year. He became the Children's Portrait Photographer of the Year because nobody else entered photographs into that category. And he put it on the website. And he put it on the door. He had a nice sticker for the window of the shop, and the phone didn't stop ringing. Again, that's British sarcasm. The phone didn't ring once. It had no impact on our business whatsoever, him winning that award. Apart from at the time, I thought it was wonderful. As a child, I thought it was absolutely wonderful. My dad was the Yorkshire Portrait Photographer of the Year until I found out that it had no impact on the financials of his business at the time. And then since then, my dad's never entered another thing, or if he does, it's been very, very rarely. So my own personal opinion of print competition is I view it as a complete waste of time. If you're an entrepreneur and you're wanting to build a business in the photographic industry, then I see you have no reason at all as to why to enter print competition. The two big reasons I see why people would want to enter print competition is to want to become better at your craft. So you want to become a better photographer. But then I see it as doing the opposite, because you're becoming a better photographer at creating artwork that's going to appeal to a judging panel, and that's not necessarily going to appeal to your clients. My father became great at his craft because he's been in business 44 years now, and has photographed thousands of clients. That's how my dad got better at his craft. It's how he knows where the light is. How he understands light is because he's had that much exposure to photographing. And as it stands now, I don't know any print organization that has an award for salability of photographs, or creating saleable images, or how to photograph to sell an album, or how to photograph to sell wall portraiture. So in essence, you're learning how to photograph amazing. I'm not dissing the quality of the photographs, because they all look incredible, but there's nothing ever your clients are going to buy. So for that reason, I don't think it's worthwhile attending. I think you're better off building a marketing system and generating leads and getting clients in your studio and figuring out what they like and how they buy through trial and error is better than going to a print award and a judge judging you on how nice the photograph is or how well you've captured that light. And then the other reason is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a nice little pyramid of self-actualization, of awarding yourself that pat on the back. But I don't really think you should be getting a pat on the back from that. Oh, well, it depends. Personally, I don't want a pat on the back from other photographers who can't run businesses or struggle to run businesses. I want a pat on the back from somebody else who's running a really great business. That's what I'd see, or that's what I'd see valuing achieving that self-actualization, or achieving a goal that I've set out myself to achieve, not something that's going to have no benefit to my business whatsoever.
So, Brad, I understand what you're saying, but you're a photographer. You're not a photographer, as you said,
No.
right? You are a photography business, third generation, and you run a very successful business. But Janine, you are a photographer. So tell us a little bit about, what role has print competition played in your career as a photographer and a successful business owner?
So it's interesting, Ronan. In 15 years of running a photography studio, specifically based around children, and that'll go a little bit into why print competition, I think, feeds into me the way it does. I've never had a client ask, never once has anybody ever called and said, hey, how do I know you're a good photographer? Or can you show me your awards? Can you show me that you're an award-winning photographer before I book you? It's never happened. Clients don't care. My clients care about how I can create portraits of their children that capture that moment and that memory for them. Captures the right smile, captures the right expression. In fact, some of my best-selling images, the lighting is awful because the child might have come out of the light, but the expression was perfect and the mom fell in love with the image, right? It's all about the memory, the emotion, the expression, the connection you make with the client. That's what's important, learning how to relate to people. I wish there was a merit or something on how to relate to people, honestly, because that's really what's happening in the camera room when you're photographing people. We're not photographing inanimate objects. We're photographing people and we're making a connection. And so I've never had that question. No one cares. And in fact, I have so many friends, and it's interesting because I do struggle with this a little bit. Oh, it would be nice if people recognize me for my work. And it's that recognition that Brad's talking about, that it would be so nice if my fellow photographers could just say, you know what, Janine, that's an awesome photograph. That's an awesome portrait. That scene you created for your wizard portrait, that is amazing. And, nobody does it quite like you. I do have that desire, but I know darn well if I entered those prints in competition, it'd be a waste of my time. They're never going to get any awards. But you know what? They get the right awards. They get my green awards, which I know means nothing to the three of you because your money's not green. But here it's green. And so I can create images that my clients resonate with, that they love, that captures the emotion of their children, and they sell. That's why I'm able to run a successful business, because my focus is on what will sell to my client, not what's going to sell to a judge. And while I see the value in that for photographers to feed that creative side of them, I feed that creativity differently because I'm always trying to find ways that I can creatively outdo myself to impress my clients and to get my clients to come back several times a year, always creating something new for them, always creating something that's going to be more engaging. That's what drives me. And I find with a lot of my photographer friends, and I have a lot in the industry who love print competition. And when you talk to them about it, you hear they're like, it makes my photography better. And I can understand that. And if you're fully booked already and you want to do something that creative, I think all artists have creative projects that they work on for themselves, right? It's how you feed yourself. It's how you stay creative. It's how you stay on top of your game. But as long as you recognize why you're doing it and that it's not going to, you get this award and now all of a sudden the clients are going to come. It's not the Field of Dreams. We're not Kevin Costner, this isn't going to, people aren't going to flock to your studio because you won an award. So you got to put it in its lane. Why are you doing it? And what is it going to do for you and your studio and your business? And the other trap that I see running that photographers fall into is as soon as they win these awards, they get all puffed up. And now it's very anti everything we teach. And it's very anti everything that we find that works in a business. And that's making your client the hero. As soon as you start talking about, it's okay to shorten it if you want to say quickly, I'm an award-winning photographer to build credibility. But as soon as you start listing off all your awards, and as soon as your awards and what you've done becomes the focus of your website, of your marketing, of your advertising, now your client's not the hero anymore. And your client needs to be the hero if you're going to fully book your calendar. They have to be. It's the only way for it to work. And so that's a little bit of what I've seen and my feeling on it. So I get the 2 points of view. I really do, because the creative in me wants that recognition. But I get that from my clients, and I'm happy with that. That's what feeds me. I don't need the validation from a judge.
And just to jump in quickly on this point that is really interesting that, both Brad and Janine have mentioned in terms of validation. I think a lot of the challenges photographers have with putting so much emphasis on print competitions comes down to a lack of belief in themselves. They don't have a clear purpose or why they're creating their business and their images for their clients. They don't believe that they are good enough to be able to sell these images to their clients. So they're in their own minds, they're thinking, okay, if I can get my photography to be the most amazing piece of artwork in the eyes of judges of my peers in my industry, then I'm going to feel more confident in my ability to sell my work. Right? So they're connecting the quality of their photography to their confidence in being able to sell that to their clients. But Ronan, as you know, and you told us a great story the other day, you were at an event recently and one of our members were there and you asked her a couple of questions. I'd love to hear that story. And I think our listeners would too.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Janine has already talked to, the client is your hero, and Brad has talked about, that you never get anything. You never get any leads really from leading with that. And the core to that is that, before I go on and tell the story, is that most people just want to know what's in it for them, right? They don't give I won't finish the word, what print awards you've won. All they want to know is, how are you going to add value to me as your client with your photography? That's all I want to know. What problem are you going to solve for me? When we've talked about this before, there's only three main problems. You're going to solve a relationship problem for them, a health problem, or a wealth problem. That's it in a nutshell. But to go back to the print competition angle, so yes, I was speaking at the Guild of Photographers, and one of our fully booked photographer members was in the audience, Emma Campbell. And Emma has an amazing story because she actually won the Guild Photographer of the Year award 2 years ago, right? So she won that award. So she's been there. And then she joined the BSA, the fully booked photographer, and she learned that her focus was wrong, right? So she learned that the images that she created, or the photos she created to win an award, her clients never buy. Why? Because she realized when she was in the fully booked photographer that her why was photographing not the overall great horse riders in England, who are all perked up and all that. They didn't care about that because they didn't care about their relationship with their horse. It was about winning competition, right? But when she realized that, the real reason why she loves to photograph equine was when she was growing up as a young girl, her horse was her best friend. When she was feeling sad, she would go out and cuddle her horse. When she was feeling down, her horse would lift her. Her horse used to get excited to see her, and she used to ride the horse everywhere. That was her best friend in life, her pony, right? And she realized that, my ideal clients for equine photography are a mirror of me. They're also people who have this special relationship with their horse, that they're best friends, that they love each other, right? And I said to her, right, so the photographs you take, right, with your best friend, the horse, would they ever win print competition? She says, not a chance. I said, why? And he says, well, the horses where, the rider is one of the best riders, they're perked up, so their ears are pointing fully up, right? But when a horse is relaxed and happy to be in your company, their ears flop down, right? She said there was no way you could enter an equine shot of a horse with their ears down that could win print competition. It wouldn't happen. And for me, that story captures, right, the difference between what print competition is about, right? And it does have its role. Brad talked to this. It can help you become better at the art and science of photography, or it can help you satisfy that creative need within you. But that's for you. The photographs you take for your client that means something to them, where you're using the art and science of photography that you have the skill with, that you don't have to think about it, so you can focus on your client and capture what's important to them, whether that's their relationship with themselves, or with a pet, or with a partner, or whatever that is, right? That because you don't have to think about the lighting and the angle and how to take the photographs and all that, you're unconsciously competent in it. That's where it can help you, right? But what you capture in that is totally focused on your client. You're not going in with the mindset of, I'm going to create photographs of my client so I can win an award. That's disaster. That's disaster. So hopefully, Jonathan, that helps a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a quote that I loved from your buddy Brad Mark Ashworth, he said one of his first, bosses in the photography industry told him, "Whenever you feel creative, sit down."
Yeah, that is a wonderful quote. And especially true for how we photograph our boudoir clients now. We're photographing to sell artwork, and we're photographing to sell albums and portrait boxes. We have a set formula to photograph too. So we need to make sure we get all the shots we need, to achieve that. At the end of that session, we might do something a little creative. If the client's brought in something or has a unique request, we will 100% do it for them. But we need to make sure that we've photographed everything else that we need that we know is going to sell. So that creative side does come out in work. And it's quite easy to sit here as three non-photographers and bash photography. But I've been in the studio countless times with my father. And Janine's right, it's the human interaction that counts the most. My dad used to always tell me that he's a comedian first, photographer second, because I've seen that. In fact, my dad's at his best when he's in the studio, and it's incredible to witness. But that creative side of him getting those shots, I suppose his creativity comes out in how he interacts with people. I'd say he does enjoy photography. He does enjoy it. I mean, he's been doing it for, going on 5 decades now. But his creative flair comes more out of engaging with clients on a personal level, rather than trying to do something incredibly fancy with light.
The other thing I wanted to point out too on this is time. It's the element of time. And photographers I know, being that I'm not one of them that enters print competition, so I have to talk in stories from my friends, they spend so much time planning shoots for print competition. I know a few, very few, who enter client work. It's the minority. It's the minority that enters client work. The majority will plan specific shoots and then work for hours in post-production to get the image exactly where it needs to be for print competition. Those are the same people who, when we talk to them and say, have you done 2 hours of marketing today? Have you worked on a marketing campaign to bring in clients to your studio? Have you done this? Have you done that? The answer is, I don't have time. I don't have time for that. So they're focusing, and that's my problem with print competition, amongst the other ones that I've already mentioned, is that it diverts the photographer's attention from the time that should be spent working on their business. And instead they're spending it working to achieve an award. And if they could take that time that they spent to create these award-winning images and put that time into marketing their business and learning what their client wants to buy, and learning what will sell an album, what will sell a folio box, what will sell a wall collection. If they put their energy into that, then they'd fully book their calendar. Then with their spare time, if they want to go be creative and enter print competitions, more power to them. But you can't do it in reverse. You're never going to book your calendar if all of your time is spent on fruitless projects.
And Janine, you're absolutely right, because Brad talked this a little bit earlier, right? So there's what we call starving artist syndrome, right? And it links to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? But that, here's the thing, like, if you want to be creative, is it possible to be fully creative if you're struggling to provide for your family, if you're struggling to pay your mortgage because you're not earning from your photography, right? And maybe you have wealth and you only have to do that. That's fine. Once you also tell people that that's why you do this, right? Is that you're not looking to earn a living from your photography. You're entering competition for the sheer joy and will of it, and you can do that. But imagine if that's not the case. And imagine if you're spending all that time on print competition in the hope that you're going to have a successful business, in the hope that by winning this award and putting it out in your community, that the door is going to be knocked down when they wanting to book you, right? That's the problem, that division. And here's the thing, right? I would argue that if you look after the business basics, right, and you run a business to provide for your family, so you're not worried about providing for your family, that will actually create more time for you to be creative. And you will be more creative because you don't have the burdens in your mind about all those other problems you have. And I think too many photographers miss that. They just miss that.
And I think a lot of photographers miss that because nobody's telling them about it. You know, you don't know what you don't know. And we've just got back from Imaging USA. You can probably tell with the bags under my eyes, disheveled beard. But my biggest takeaway, we did like 15-minute mentor calls on stand, me and Jonathan, for 3 days. They were booked out after like the first hour. To our surprise and pain, because we were sat down talking to people for 3 days straight. My biggest takeaway was that I was first surprised at the amount of photographers running a business with a turnover below $100,000. Because I've never really gone to even an event like that. I've gone to very few events. I've spoke to photographers on stand, limited. Loads. I have loads of conversations with our members. But that volume in such a small period of time, I was shocked at. I was really surprised at the amount of photographers doing below 100 grand or even below 50,000 in revenue. But they're all so desperate to grow the business. They're all so desperate to build it. And just like what Jonathan said earlier, they lacked that belief. They lacked the belief that they could earn money from doing what they loved doing. Nobody was really telling them that, or they weren't hearing that information from anybody. So if you listen to this and I spoke to you on stand, then I believe in you. I think you can run a business in the photographic industry. You can deliver to your clients. You can earn money from doing what you love, but you have to learn the basic mechanics of how business works. Like what Janine said, how to market, how to sell, how to engage with clients. And then that last thing is your reward. It's like creativity. Print competition is the reward you give yourself after you've ran a successful business. And even then, you might be surprised that once you have a successful business and you are where you want to be, that you don't really want to enter print competition because you've achieved your happiness and you've got your pat on the back through delivering to your clients rather than delivering to yourself.
And so much of that comes back to mindset, Brad, like you said. It's all about mindset. It's how most of life is about mindset. You have to believe that you can do it. If you don't believe, you'll never do it. And for me, what I see is the role of the print competition has a lot of value in satisfying that creativity and, feeling good about yourself, but it's not going to help you to fill your calendar and become fully booked. It's almost an excuse to not put in the work to build a business because you don't believe that you can. That's one of the reasons why we're here, right?
Yeah. If you don't believe it, then you can borrow our belief.
And Brad, you talked a good bit there about some numbers, right? 100,000 turnover or revenue, right? A lot of people who don't understand the business fundamentals think that that's what they get to keep to, right? So just on profit first principles, like if you've a turnover of 100 grand, right? Typically you're going to earn 40,000 from your business. That's what you're going to earn, right? So that's why it can be. Brad was a little bit shocked, I guess, in terms of the expectations of what people have with regards, what do I need to do to actually create a business, and are desperate to do so. And we're there to help at the Fully Booked Photographer. That's what we do every single day, is we help photographers to become fully booked. And as Jonathan said, like a lot of that is to do with mindset. You got to have the right mindset and realize, all we want you to do is realize that we're not saying don't do print competition. We just want you to be absolutely clear as to the role of print competition, because print competition is not going to bring clients to you. It's just not. Janine, I think you should have the last word on this.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I'm just going to say what I said before. And as a photographer, you have to get your satisfaction and your joy and feed that creative energy from satisfying your clients. You have to. It's what's going to drive your business forward, and constantly creating new for your clients and figuring out how to emotionally connect with them and what they want and the memories they want to create for their families, for their kids, for themselves. That's the ultimate goal. That has to be the ultimate goal. That has to be part of your why if you're going to be in the people photography business. And that's what we're in, and that's who we're talking to. And so that would be my final word, is that focus on your client, focus on you, focusing on your client, not focus on you earning awards from a third party that isn't paying your bills. And they're not the ones that you're trying to make happy. You don't even see their faces when they give you those awards. I want to see the faces of my clients when they see their baby's images and their children's images, and they're wowed, and the children are wowed, and they're like, "Mommy, look, I'm a wizard. Mommy, look, I'm a princess." That's what speaks to my heart. That's what speaks to a photographer's heart, is the satisfaction and the joy they bring their clients.
So there you heard it, folks. To become a fully booked photographer, which can help you. If you are interested in that, just check us out on the fullybookedphotographer.com. And don't forget it, if you've enjoyed this, or you've even found it thought-provoking, or it's annoyed you, right? Just subscribe, and send us a note, because, we've thick skins. All we want to do is just to get people to think about this stuff. Gary Box, the great Gary Box, he christened me many years ago the thought provocateur. That's all we're trying to do, get you to think about these things. So on that note, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.